How are you? Good, good. We got a. I'll get the basic stuff to them. We got a couple guys. Okay. No one more. Give me the report here, just to make sure. The right statements. We'll give you all that. But we will advertise. Like, well, that's coming. We've already had threats.
Hi, Francis.
Hey, Cynthia, if you want to give me a thumbs up that you can hear us. Okay.
Hey, Nikki, how are you? Thanks for doing this for me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, we're upside. It's kind of, she is always trying to reach the. It's almost 2,000 square feet. It's so nice. Oh, okay. Absolutely. Hey, listen, I'm gonna out of town with my woman and stuff. I've seen it. I haven't gotten it for you. I saw it come through. I just don't have time.
CWS. It's item number 7.
I don't see our intern.
I was about to. There's a couple more people walking it.
Don't worry. I got you. I got you.
I'm here. I'm just fidgeting.
How are you?
Good. I'm happy it's finally summer.
Yeah, me too. Except for the heat.
No, it was horrible today. I showed my sister this thing well
Mhm.
in the forest. It was so hot. It was ridiculous.
County James Island regular council meeting is hereby called to order. The first item on the agenda is our open exercise.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to take a moment this evening to recognize the victims of hate crimes in our country. There was a horrific mass shooting in Buffalo, New York this past week targeting African Americans, where 10 people were killed and 3 were injured. This mass shooting was not unlike the Mother Emanuel Church shooting that happened here in Charleston in 2015, where 9 Charlestonians were killed in a heinous attack by another known white supremacist. Bizarrely, the hate crimes bill at the State House failed again this session. The South Carolina Senate rejected it. This bill is named after the pastor of the state, Senator Clement Pinckney, and would increase penalties for crimes committed or abused with hate. South Carolina is one of 2 states without a hate crimes bill. I hope that local governments like ours can advocate for the hate crimes bill and let our senators continue to oppose this bill, urging them to support it. Right now, I'd like us to have a moment of silence for the victims of the hate-fueled mass shooting in Buffalo and for all victims of hate crimes as we approach the 7th anniversary of the Mother Emanuel murders. Thank you. And if you would now stand and say the pledge.
To the flag of the United States
United
of
States
America,
of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Government, our next item on the agenda is public comment.
Thanks, Mark.
Okay. And so the first person we have is Haley Boyd.
Right. So good evening. I just wanted to continue the conversation from last month's meeting about the concerns of speeding on Clearview and Tennant, most specifically Tennant Street, which is where I live. It seems to be worse now actually than what it was before. Now that there's not much of a police presence, I know that there was the speed strips for a few days. However, it seems now people are more vindictive about it and actually speeding past our residents quicker and then slowing down. I would also like to give you a little example of why I'm so passionate about this. I don't know many of you, or if you've been here for very long, but in May of 1979, my aunt, Heather Shingle-Decker, which is actually, a very difficult name to forget, was 5 years old and hit in front of my house and died. So it's personally very specific to me and my children that I have playing outside. The speeding is still a concern. My elderly neighbor next door remembers the incident very well and remembers the neighbors actually throwing metal trash cans to get people to slow down. So I'm not entirely sure why after 44 years of this, that it's still not justified. And we're not really entirely sure why there's such a negative pushback for a resolution. I don't see what the negative would be to put a speed bump or a sign in like the one on Fort Johnson that tells people they're going too fast. I'm not sure why that would inconvenience people to slow down. And if you would bring your attention to the Nextdoor app, I don't know if any of you have that. Clearview and Tennant are not the only area on our side of the island that are having this issue. Many people on Harborview and surrounding communities on that side are also discussing how people are speeding, hitting dogs, hitting cats, ducks, people are jumping out of the way, etc. So I don't know how we alleviate that situation, but it is very close to us, and we will continue to keep coming back until there is a resolve, because our kids and our own lives are in danger at this point. So we are very passionate about that.
Thank you. And next I have Jim Boyd.
Before I start, I spoke with Lieutenant James earlier today. I gave him some information that I was going to ask today. Is it okay if he answers those questions first? No? Okay. All right. Well, I guess I'll ask him then. So Lieutenant James, what was the average speed down 10th Street during the time you had the speed strips?
Mayor, can I just, okay, well, I can't state I mean,
Okay, so as long as you can address them later, right? That is fine. I'll tell you, we talked about it, or at least some of my neighbors did here with Lieutenant James. I believe he said the fastest speed they recorded was 38 miles an hour. 37. I'll tell you right now, that's not true. I purposely went 57 over it, middle of the night. I'll own up to that right now. So that's telling me that data is not correct. Last meeting, Mr. Mayor, you said there were multiple speed bumps on Clearview. Mark here agreed. I have actually set my projector over on the wall. I will share the actual thing with you. I went through and marked it all out. There's one. It is exactly from Harborview, exactly 580 feet off of the Harborview once you pull on Clearview Street. After that point, once you pull on Clearview, there is another, let's see, 3.18 miles of road, all residential. Not a single thing, not a three-way stop, not a four-way stop, nothing. You look at it over on Swanson, they have two speed bumps, 650 feet apart. That road is only 1,600 feet long. It's not even half a mile, right? Then you go to Beauregard on the, if you're looking at the map, to the eastern side of it. It has 1,000 feet apart. That road is only 1,952.2 feet long. Right. What I'm getting at is there's obviously an issue. You went ahead and did it for part of an area, but those are actually back roads. In order to get to those, you have to go down Clearview to even get to that. So you didn't actually address the issue where everybody's coming through the main road to turn off into it. Again, that road is still 25 miles an hour. You know, it's, I'm gonna second my wife's. I don't understand why this is such an issue. Literally, over the weekend, there were two vehicles literally chasing each other around the entire circle, doing well over 65 miles an hour. And what he is saying here, or I'm hoping he will address a little bit later when he has time to speak, is 37 miles an hour is not correct. I personally admit to it, I went 57 over at 2 o'clock in the morning one night, just to see what would be said here today. But that is it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Mary Edna Fraser.
I'm Mary Edna, 1723 Oak Park Road, and I want to thank you for cleaning up James Island Creek. I am just here to say thank you. We appreciate it so much. I haven't been able to swim in the creek because of the bacteria level since 2012. So bless you.
Thank you very much. Now we have Ryan Win.
Good evening. I also live in Clearview, and we met last month. I just wanted to come and again reiterate that we're still definitely concerned about the issue and looking forward to continuing the conversation with it. I think the incident that Jim was referring to with 2 cars chasing themselves, I was actually outside when that occurred. It was 3 young boys in a black Honda Accord coming around. I did witness them swerve very last minute to miss an older man walking his dog. It It was almost a pedestrian getting hit right on Clearview, and then they did go all the way down and around. By that point, we had the kids out, making sure we were watching them in the yards to make sure no one went close to the road, but they came through, and a couple neighbors even drove out chasing them, trying to chase down these kids because they were so livid to see them pass their own residences at the same speed. So, I mean, it's just scary that, it's not all the time, but it's when it happens, it's a very frightening occurrence, and it being, a residential neighborhood, definitely still concerned. And I'd also brought it up with Councilwoman Vijano, I don't mispronounce that, but also we had like a week-long episode of very heavy leaf burning in our neighborhood by a few different residences, and I know it's legal to do it, but I don't know if there's any guidance or restriction that the council would consider for the town in general, because it was, we couldn't really go out of our houses because of the heavy smoke that was going on around the area. It would be nice to have some structure around how that's done, or even, encourage folks more to compost, obviously. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. And Andrew Wonderly.
May it please council, Mr. Mayor, council members, Andrew Wonderly, I'm the Charleston Waterkeeper. Over the last 9 years, I think a lot of you are aware, we've been doing bacteria sampling in James Island Creek, and we've done it extensively and persistently test high seed levels of exceed state health standards for safe swimming. The problem is actually so severe that the DEHEC has rated the creek as impaired and issued a TMDL that requires the city and the county and the town to work together. That's why the James Island Creek Task Force was formed. Part of the town's part of that, and DEHEC members, as well as Charleston Waterkeeper. But last year, the task force developed a watershed plan, and that plan identified septic tanks as one of the contributing sources of bacteria in the creek. The plan identified the Clarks Point neighborhood and the Oak Point Riley Road area as problematic because septic tanks are really densely clustered there, and the soil types in those communities are actually inadequate to fully break down sewage from homes. And so that means that rains, floods, storms, low tides pull that contamination out into the creek. So there's also some additional information I feel I need to be aware of related to septic tanks and bacteria. One is that source tracking samples have indicated that bacteria is human source bacteria is a contributing factor to the creek. Also found birds as a factor. Both Charleston Water System and James Island PSD have done dye testing of the pump stations and sewer lines in the creek's watershed and found no leaks. Lastly, DHEC's records show that the most recent sewer overflow in the James Island Creek watershed was 2019. I looked just a few minutes ago before coming over, and that was the earliest one I could find. The issue continues to receive attention here locally, but I want you to know too that Representative Spencer Wetmore and State Senator Sandy Senna worked real hard to position James Island Creek for federal and state funding and funding in the state budget to clean up the creek. The one piece that's really important here is the American Rescue Plan specifically allocates funding for just these types of projects that touch on public health and sewer and water infrastructure upgrades, specifically around efforts like this one to clean up James Island Creek. So I think what we have here is a confluence of data, public attention, local and state interest, and funding that makes this sort of a once in a generation opportunity to extend sewer and to remove septic tanks and get James Island cleaned up. I strongly encourage the town to continue to support and continue to work towards these efforts and in service of cleaning up James Island Creek and making it safe for swimming. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So that's all we had time to speak. And we will now go to our consent agenda to approve minutes. Is there a motion in favor? So moved. Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That passes. Okay, next we have information reports, our finance report. Meryl.
Good evening. Just quickly, franchise fees are wow, or not. The loss funds for March, the facility rentals are penny parks and field fiscal collection. Under information services, 16,409, which looks very large, but 12,400 are the first payment on the website that you all approved in January. And the other thing I have is Highland Avenue drainage and our final payment and of $121,750. We also, but we do expect $5,000 reimbursement.
Any questions for the finance?
So we have everything we need to get through this year.
I think town administrator report.
I provided a report, in your packet this month, the few things that we've been working on, we're working with the city of Charleston to finalize the Brantley Park, project. So the next step will be to obtain a certificate of occupancy. And then after that, we will coordinate and open, grand opening celebration. We also worked with the consultant that's going to work to revitalize Dock Street Park. So those plans and expenditure requests will be brought to council soon. And also the Camping Valley Road Gateway signage, project will also be coming soon. A couple of questions were posed at the last meeting, so I'm going to discuss them here. Garrett, or Councilman Wilton, you asked about solar panels being installed here. So we heard back from the installer, and we're just waiting for approval from Dominion on that. They will do a study before they approve the interconnection. And they said that they could have the results in early June. So once that is completed, then we can move forward with permitting. And then also the copier at the James Island Arts and Cultural Center. So we spoke to staff, and there is a copier option there. So we would like to make that available to citizens that need some minor opportunities. But if that does become, an ongoing concern or something that the citizens to want to utilize that space, make some copies, then we can look more deeply into, a larger scale mission. Caroline has a after that.
Oh. So the way it would work out is that I think we need copies would ask our employee there. Make copies. And right now it seems like loading activity, but if it builds up to something that becomes an extreme burden to use that for copy.
Also, we looked into some additional grant funding opportunities for some items that Brantley Park, so that will kind of forward soon. There's an opportunity there. And we also met with Charleston County once again regarding solar panels. We met with them and the consultant to kind of, the issues that the county had, and they seemed in favor, so hopefully we'll get that.
Thank you very much. Public Works report.
Good evening, everyone. This is a report for April. There were 2 requests for service in April. One was drainage related statute funds, all requests, and the one was drainage related, someone wanted to type in. So staff held monthly meetings with homeowner managers and supported the first shot event at Fort Johnson. We have been monitoring our interns tree survey program, and we'll hear more about that later. Staff has been coordinating with All Energy solar panel installation, and last month we finalized planning for the Hurricane Expo, which happened this month. We've been looking at grant funding through the state revolving fund and World Infrastructure Authority for clean water projects, which would be drainage related. Staff participated in the James Island Exchange Golf Tournament, and we secured an access agreement for additional water testing for the James Island Creek on Jim Island Drive. We also coordinated looking up the park irrigation system with dedicated irrigation water meter and making repairs to the irrigation system.
Staff also saw a demonstration, got a temporary trial camera for the Ocado wireless surveillance system. This is what North Charleston has been putting out in the news lately. We'll kind of explain more about the uses for it. Staff also filed the application for the 2023 CPC funding for the Ocado sidewalk and continued septic inspection services with 2 additional projects. We did do some vegetative maintenance, there's still 1 pothole in that vehicle, and new staff is still being trained in field operations.
Any questions? So Marcus, an update on the Fairview Road and Road.
Sergeant James has his data that he's going to be giving to me, but I also have 3 weeks worth of data. Just picked up the traffic counter that we put down yesterday, so I'm compiling that data and we should have a report to you today.
How did the hurricane go?
I hear it went very well. I was not able to attend since my son was graduating from the US.
Congratulations on that. So, there's no further questions. Thank you so much. Next, we go to the officers' report.
First, I'll speak on the speed. We had our stealth set out there for 7 days. So since our last meeting, there's 28 days. That means what he's speaking of him excessively speeding in a neighborhood for someone who was coming here planning on speeding. At 32 miles an hour, the speed limit could have happened in those other 20 days. That's something that I will look into. But I don't know if I'm shocked that he would say he's doing 57 because the state law, nor do we think that any time is acceptable for you to be speeding at 57 miles per hour through, especially through a neighborhood, but anywhere, especially in the state of Sacramento or Charleston County. So moving on, the stealth step, which we use anywhere that we go, and we use it, and it is extremely accurate, and it's got many ways of testing it. And I will send you the stats and send you the data and how it's collected. And I also have a deputy that can also explain. The traffic lieutenant is also on the way up here. I'm more happy to speak if anybody would like to speak to them afterwards. He's in charge of the stealth stat and also in charge of the entire traffic. So in those 7 days, we set it between 20 and 125 miles an hour. In other words, if a car maxes out at 19, we did not capture that. So if it was a golf cart or anything like that, we didn't capture that. In those 7 days, it captured 1,150 vehicles. 53 were 5 or more out of 1,150. 37 was the highest at 2. We have 136, 3 at 35, and 6 at 34. It even captures in 15-minute increments what time violation was and what direction. It captures both directions as well. No different than any other equipment that you may use. I don't know what equipment he's using, but it's no different than going to your doctor or anybody else and telling them this is equipment I want you to use. Hospitals are going to use the equipment that they have because they know it's trusted equipment and they know that that's what they're supposed to use. So moving on from that, and we will, I've gone over there. They're not going to see us all the time, depending on what people we're in. Some of our vehicles are recognizable somewhere, but we also have other speeding problems, of course, throughout the island. And of course, we have a lot of criminal activity that we're trying right now, especially after having a shooting last night. That left a young man in it's very serious condition. So during the month, in the last 28 days, some of the things I highlight, we had a female charge of burglary second at Chick-fil-A on April 29th. On May 5th, we had a found gun that was located under a porch. Which actually had rust on the slide of Turkey Pen Road. Actually found a gun. On May 9th, we got shots fired on Jeffrey in reference to some of the same, so coming from the same house we had the shooting, we actually had one of the gentlemen over there, one of the kids or young guys over there knock down his trash can. And these families were going back and forth. And so each group, this guy pulls out a gun, and then the group of young people pull out a gun, and they both fire into the air. That we knew was probably not going to This shooting last night is not related to that, but last night we had a young man that was shot numerous times. And he's at MUSC right now. And we've had detectives out here. Last night we had a patrol deputy. We had one of our guys that actually sat on Jeffrey all night long last night. We rotated throughout their city. So I have ramped up some more deputies trying to get some more resources and everything else. Because we believe there's definitely going to be retaliation. There's no question we will probably have retaliation from this, knowing that the suspects and everybody else is involved. So we need to make sure we, if y'all hear the information, pass it on, of course, and we'll do the same.
I think that it's a great concern that when we have shootings in this year, down the street, town hall, or anywhere on time. Keep on that. It's good that we're voting for resources.
Yes, sir.
To control that. And so it's correct that as we instructed y'all some months ago, that Clearview and need to be on tight.
Absolutely, 100%. Yes, sir. I'll be going when I leave here. I'll go over Clearview, and we're not saying that there's nothing wrong with speed, right? But saying 7 days, 37, 12 miles an hour was the highest speed in that 7 days. And I guess his 57 reckless behavior was on maybe a morning in those 20 other days.
So we might catch it with the
Yes, sir. We may.
students, right? Okay. Anyway, any other questions? Thank you so much. James. And we have no requests from the board staff and no other action items. So we go to committee reports. Land Use Committee, Councilwoman Mignano, do you have, no, thank you.
No.
Environmental Communication Committee.
Yes, I have a report. As you may have noticed, there's an abundance of litter along our roadways right now. We're gonna need your help removing it. We have an island-wide litters pickup scheduled for Saturday, June 11th, from 9 to 11. So, wait a minute, nobody's writing that down. Put it on your calendars, all right? That date again is June 11th from 9 to 11. Basically, we meet on the porch right out here at 9 o'clock. We pick up supplies like gloves and vests and lots of garbage bags. And then we go out and we fill those garbage bags with litter that we find along the roadways, all right? Please get involved with this. It's a real worthwhile activity. It only takes a couple hours, and we feed you pizza afterward. It's a bonus situation. You get to feel good about cleaning up your community and get pizza. The more of you that show up, the more litter we can pick up. So hopefully we can do a little bit of a dent on all the litter on the roads. Helping Hands is another organization that we run. We had 2 successful events since our last meeting, and we were able to clean up the yards of all of our clients. For those of you that don't know, Helping Hands by James Islanders who may not have the ability to care for their yards. We do raking, we do mowing, but that's it. All right. But it's a good thing to get involved in. We're looking for any people who want to get involved with this. Ideally, organizations can also get involved. You may contact Stan Kozakowski. I'm not going to ask you to spell it, all right? But his number is Stan at 860-847-0544. He'll give you information. He'll sign you and the group up and give you a yard to take care of. So please get in touch with Stan at 860-847-0544 to help out other people in your community who can't take care of their dogs. That's it.
Hey, after we have a report from Children's Committee. This is actually a report for the awards from the James Island Arts and Cultural Center Jury Art Exhibition and Award. I would like Carol South to come. She put together this, the town is traditionally at an arts event to get supported arts in our schools. But this is a new approach. It's excellent. Thank you so much. And so the first award is for James Island Charter High School, and Annie Purvis, are you here? Now, James Island Charter High School had 24 submissions. The first place winner, Kieran in the picture, is that right? Kieran here? No. Then the third place winner, Lucy Dixon. And one honorable mention. Anyway, just thank you for all you do. I'm so happy to support you all. Councilman Brown, Camp Road Middle School. Brown here. So, Mr. Brown, thank you so much. You have 31 submissions from Camp Road Middle School. Second place, Megan Hinson, and 3 honorable mentions. Oh, okay. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you so much. Captain Weller, South Point Elementary School. You could be here. Well, they had 6 submissions and an honorable mention. So, thank you so much for Carolyn for putting this together and for all of the students who participated and the teachers who helped. Thank you. Next, we will go to public.
Yeah, my, one thing I'm, is next Thursday, the 7th in these chambers, we have a thing with Charleston. So just, we mark our calendars next, Thursday at 7 o'clock.
Thank you. The history committee report, the history council met last month, and our town administrator met with them. They are continuing to work on the history trail, and they are urging those members of council who are not appointed a member to put on the second appointment, which includes
Looking at
the bus. Anyway. Rethink Folly Road, we can just ensure what the next meeting is.
I believe it's not until June.
So we have all this, the bid will be in June, and it's the second Wednesday of the month. 3:30 here. Drainage.
We had a meeting, this past Tuesday, and we had some, from the county, go over some James Island drainage issues. We talked about the distance of Central Park Road project. We talked about the historical drainage project, the one drainage improvements, another issue, and other issues too. It's very informative, and very good. Being there, we appreciate that. And but anyway, we'll have our next meeting, I believe, in September. I just don't know exactly what we'll post that on. That's all. Thank you.
And next to business development committee, Councilman Walsh. Tree advisory committee.
Thank you. Yes, the Tree Advisory Council would like to recognize the efforts of our tree interns in helping to collect data for our island-wide tree survey. This survey was initiated in 2021 and has employed 5 college students from the Environmental and Sustainability Studies program at the College of Charleston, including our 2022 interns, Audrey Hayes and Kathleen Bernessa. To date, our interns have located and evaluated 469 trees on island right-of-ways. They identified the species, size, and health of these trees in an effort to care for our emerald canopy here on James Island. I would like to recognize Audrey and Kat and present them with a certificate of achievement Town of James Island. Mayor, Mark Johnson, would you like to join us here in presenting our fabulous career in these priceless certificates?
Standing up.
It's a photo.
Oh.
So thank you very much. And we are so proud of you guys. And if you want to continue measuring trees, you're welcome.
Thank you so much for helping. Thanks.
And I mean, if you want to keep measuring trees.
There.
Thank you. And thank you guys so much.
So next we have James Island Municipal Council, and so we recently met, and Caroline Parker is our new chairwoman, and next meeting will be next quarter in summer. Well, summer meeting. We don't actually have an exact date. So next we have proclamations and resolutions. Ordinances for first reading, ordinances for second reading, that's our budget. So this is our ordinance adopting our 2022-23 budget. Is there a motion to approve? The second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? So that passes. So we know old business, and then on new business, we have the proposal that we heard at the workshop from the PSC for the town to food spending $320,000 to contribute to the project expense or some language. I was hoping you to start discussion. Right. And so what it reads is this request for approval, council to approve the expenditure of $20,000 contribution for the James Island Public Service District project to extend sewer to the Oak Point neighborhood. This expenditure is conditional on the Charleston water system in the city of Charleston. Tang. I don't know how to use that one. Matching. I don't know. That messed up.
So is it match,
160,000.
the word action there?
No, it's not. Contribute. Is that contribute? Yes. $160,000 towards the project and the receipt of $319 grant from DHEC. So I move that we adopt this. Is there a second? Second. Discussion.
We don't have to amend the agenda.
No, it's under the agenda item that's placed on the agenda.
One thing that I would just make an observation of, and this is for the future going forward. On our agenda, it doesn't necessarily specify exactly where the sewer expansion project will take place. And I think, to be fair to our public and make sure that people know exactly what's going on and what we're taking action on, it would be good to be more specific about placing agenda items on. That's the only concern that I have. Now, I still want, freak and all of that, right? But I just think that to be fair moving forward, even if we're going to have a modification of the agenda, I think we need to be more clear about what we're doing with sewer expansion as far as location goes. Moving forward.
So the agenda item was placed on there, it's not clear enough to say where it was.
Exactly.
I take it.
Exactly.
There's got to be more careful when we add things when we place them.
We're voting on, I was saying that, whether we need to amend it, because we're voting on
body, just giving everybody a chance to come in if they want to say anything about the standards. But I agree with, looking at that as an important item, we understand based on the workshop that we held, that there's an urgency to have it going in. So just all that in mind.
Well, this was
As long as it
placed on
seems
this
like-
was placed on the agenda, before the agenda deadline. This is not a new addition to the agenda. I guess we're just used to being new business, under new business, new things. But traditionally in the town, we had the heading new business for years when there was no legal way to add anything after the deadline. And this was on the agenda when it went out.
Yeah.
But I understand that I could be more specific about where the proposed.
Well, there was some confusion also where with the town where we weren't able to act on this.
No, it's the agenda item new business was not, it's just we added something to the agenda. The last period, we could add things to the agenda for discussion or not be vote. And then there were times when there was no such thing as new business. Or actually, there was new business, but we just had to put it on the agenda like everything else.
Excuse me. I have a question. I'm having some audio issues. So are we voting to approve this money or are we voting to add this to the agenda?
It's already on the agenda, so. it doesn't need to
Okay.
be voted on as the agenda. So we vote to approve.
The vote would be to approve for the 320,000. Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion?
I do have one other comment. We're looking to evaluate all of the septic tanks. I think that we should do that first before we move everything to sewer, in my opinion, because if the septic tanks work fine, then they could be functioning and not polluting the creek.
Any further discussion? I think we heard the rationale in the James Island Creek watershed study gave the reasons why septic is just not appropriate in these areas with soils. That there are many places in perhaps James Island, in other parts of the country, the state, where septic works great, but the soils are inappropriate. So at least that was the analysis of the engineers that did the study. Any other discussion?
I'm gonna echo his concern a little bit. I heard what Mr. Wyman said. He's called many times before and talked a lot about this. The logic bone in my body cannot wrap my mind around that all the pipes that bring all the sewage through the marsh are intact and are not contributing to the problem. That just seems so unlikely. And to say that it's the septic tanks, I'm sure they are contributing. And I know that Mr. Wonderly was talking about that there were dye studies. It's a huge marsh. I wasn't part of the dye studies. I don't know anything about them, but it just defies logic to me. The old pipes that run through the marsh not contributing. That being said, it's a horrible mess. If we try this and we're wrong, so the worst thing to be wrong, I guess. So I do think it's a good thing to pass it. It's a good thing to try this. Let's just all be cognizant that maybe it's not a silver bullet that will very easily fix the whole problem. Maybe it'll fix one part.
I have one other comment. Also at the workshop, when they were talking about the grinder pumps that they would have to do, and during a hurricane, they would have to take the truck and hook it to a generator during a hurricane situation so that they could have functioning sewer. I'm not sure that that's our ideal situation. During a hurricane event, we've got down trees, down power lines, all of this. I can't see how that could be a practical approach at this particular point in time. And I'm certainly in for clean creeks. Please don't misunderstand me. I definitely think the creeks need to be cleaned up. I'm just not quite sure that this is the most efficient way to do so. And I just think we need more information once we check all the septic tanks.
I think that's an important concern, though I would note that if we have a major hurricane disaster, just one of the things all of our citizens need to be aware of is that there's no guarantee that any of the septic will work, and that we'll be able to use toilets, and that is one reason why when we're asked to evacuate, you should do something. And that there were issues about coming back is being prepared to provide proper sanitation. I know that is 100%, and so it is important.
I hope also that echoes something I think Councilman Miller brought up. Assuming it's passed, assuming the ordinance, really hope, and if someone's here, was here. Anyway. I hope we engage those folks and let them know that they're gonna be, if it doesn't work, they're gonna have to hook in, there's gonna have to have these devices, like make sure that we're not doing something.
Well, at least my understanding is that if this passes the grant that we are reaching a deadline to apply for, and will be used to do public outreach. Is that correct?
And it's all conditional, I mean, we're saying that we will do this, you know, these other things line up as well, some other stuff has to line up as well, we don't know.
We're just doing our part, saying that we will contribute to all of this. Our share, you know, it's based on proportion of homes in this area that are in town versus in the city.
I would also like to add another comment. The PSD in our workshop talked about the fact that they could have generators available to do pump outs for people that are on the septic that might be unavailable electrical systems. And I would like that to see that plan carried out. I mean, I think it would be good to have that very carefully written out, because I'm sure there are more than just 15 people in Oakland that we're going to get sewer to that have running pumps. And I think we need to have a location where the pumps are, so we can give them assistance in the event that we lose power. I'm looking out for it.
Oh, I don't think my brain is on the plan. I'm sorry, it's my personal one.
But I think that plan needs to be specific. And if I were in any control situation, yes, I would like to see that plan. That would be very good.
We have an agreement to work on that plan.
Yeah, we got it.
Great.
All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No,
So that passes. All right, so next on the agenda is executive session. None. Announcements and closing comments.
So happy to see folks from the neighborhood come to the meetings again. You know, when we were meeting virtually, we really had no community engagement at all. It was hard to figure out what was important to people. And, we all hear from the folks in the neighborhoods what you're saying, and there is a process. It sounds like it's underway. When I first got elected, we were here for the exact same neighborhood, different location. There were practically pitchforks and torches and people yelling at each other. And we had to like adopt rules about how the meetings were going to take place because it was so contentious. Hope everybody remembers, it's my opinion that as long as people are on this planet, they're going to do good things and they're going to do bad things. And there's nothing that this council can do to reform humanity. But we hear what you're saying, the process is underway, let the police do their work, let Mark do the work. And the last time this came up, it resulted in traffic control devices. So, again, thank you for coming and voicing positions. And thank you everybody else for being here for our month.
Well, Councilman Miliana.
Yes, I would like to second what Councilman Bowles said. We definitely want safe neighborhoods and all of those things. I would also like to say, you know, perhaps as neighbors, we can be considerate when we're burning leaves and be, you know, thoughtful of your neighbors who might have medical conditions that you're not aware of. And thank you, Sergeant James and Officer King for taking care of our island and keeping us safe.
Thank you, Councilman Miller.
Yes, before this, I attended a meeting with some of my colleagues here out at Fort Johnson, talking about the plans to come up with a comprehensive land use plan for that area. It's a lot of acreage. It's going to be a beautiful thing. It's going to be a state park on half of it. The other half is going to maintain its research commitment with DNR and the College of Charleston. I am so encouraged in looking at this, that this is just going to become a very beautiful jewel in our crown of James Island. I mean, it's really got a lot of potential. But to help with that happening, y'all need to give your input. What Davis and Floyd have a website, and you can visit that website and take a virtual tour of the presentation they gave tonight and offer your comments on your vision for this redevelopment. It seems like it's a really nice opportunity, and as citizens, you have an opportunity to have a role in shaping its future. So take advantage.
Thank you, Councilman Mullins.
Just not echo Councilman Bowles. Thank you. Really coming out tonight. That's your issue. Others. And thank you for coming out tonight. That's what we are judged.
There being no further business, meeting is adjourned.
A lot of them. Yeah, we hug them. Yeah.
Worked out.
Yeah.
Yeah.